I watch the stocks and bonds builders, they chop down, chop build, and still rape and kill on land at will. Oh, now his truth shall reveal. My people fight for air to breathe, so quick to deceive and plead on their knees for the money. When all we want is to succeed. So we strive to create eternal life. I don't wanna die, it's not my time. Though I know, someday we'll choose a side. Equality, we need to breed a child who loves his brother man. No matter what the skin tone is, love is how we believe God's plan. Elders, please nurture the seeds to sow the roots of righteousness. 'Cause truth is in the fact, not belief, even if we don't understand. So many mysteries of our histories, the glory of kings before glamorous things. Holy freedom rings, I sing what I feel, but the real pain and the suffering shall cause no strain on just Zion train. When you get on board, you'll feel no pain. Equality, we need to breed a child who loves his brother man. No matter what the skin tone is, the love is how we believe God's plan. Elders, please nurture your seeds to sow the roots of righteousness. 'Cause truth is in the fact, not belief, even if we don't understand. The foundation of this creation is to love in all the town, every city, every nation. Separation brings frustration, speculation stems from temptation. But the question is, how can one judge one? Wicked I go blaze, Babylon burned by the sun, yeah. Will you fight or run when Armageddon comes? Equality, we need to breed a child who loves his brother man. No matter what the skin tone is, the love is how we believe God's plan. Elders, please nurture your seeds to sow the roots of righteousness. 'Cause truth is in the fact, not belief, even if we don't understand. Equality, we need to breed a child who loves his brother man. No matter what the skin tone is, the love is how we believe God's plan. Elders, please nurture your seeds to sow the roots of righteousness. 'Cause truth is in the fact, not belief, even if we don't understand. Equality, equality. I said equality, equality. Life and claim your hometown, to rule this land and stand your own ground. Bend down, get up and don't be pushed around. You can't give up until there's freedom found. I see them building up their guns and confusion. Divide and conquer as played. We fight the battle through their lies and illusions. Word, sound, and power at hand. What shall become of the kill and construction? When shall we ever overstand? Jah is the reason why we forward revolution. He has the world in his hands, and I'm here to spread the message to the people that is love here. Have no fears, because the blessings we've been given to remain here. Shed no tears, because blood on our shoulders, because with righteousness we're led. The evil rise and they try to devour all of the wisdom Jah spread. I watch them fall, cause they know not the hour. Then I go conquer, I dread, and I'm here to spread the message to the people that is love here. Have no fears, because the blessings we've been given to remain here. Shed no tears, because the power of His glory is so mighty. And I pray to Jah to keep me in the light of His safety. Oh. I see them coming with their guns and confusion, divide and conquer as planned. We fight the battle through their lies and illusions. Word sound and power at hand. What shall become of their kill and construction? When shall we ever overstand? Jah is the reason why we forward revolution. Jah has here. Have no fears, because the blessings we've been given to remain here. Shed no tears, cause the power of His glory is so mighty, so mighty. And I pray to Jah to keep me in the light of His safety. Oh, and I pray, ooh, I pray, oh, hey, oh, ooh, I pray, Jah keep me in the light, in your arms of safety. Oh, I pray to Thee, oh, ooh, hey.
Grand Rising. So I'll wait for you guys to start. You're breathing. My.
All right. Who can hear me? Everybody can hear me? All right. Welcome, welcome. We are back and black as always to Movement Matters. Today we have an amazing special guest, the inimitable Anthony Burrell, who is probably multitasking like most of us do in this virtual space that we live in, because we stay busy, we stay on the grind. This guy, you have to speak to our personal relationship, because Anthony loves to tell the story about how when he met me and he first saw me dance, that I was like a chicken. And then all of a sudden that technique just kind of clicked and all things started to settle in. By that time, Anthony had left the University of the Arts and was already on the quest for his illustrious career that he's had. One of the reasons why I really wanted Anthony to come in and share with our students here at Wayne State is because he's one of those people who has, for lack of a better way of putting it, broken the barriers. You know, and that's the name of one of his projects is Breaking Barriers. Anthony has created his own pathway in the arts, from concert dance to commercial dance to acting to now being a studio owner and having a company. You know what I mean? So he's run pretty much the full gamut of what we can do in our dance careers in so many ways, and now is embarking on that career in academia and working on his master's of fine arts at Hollins College. So wanted to bring Anthony in to share with us why movement matters to him, why it's so important that we stay connected to movement and how important it is for us as people and sharing our craft and sharing our gifts, and how it really does in so many ways give us more ways of interacting and communicating and connecting. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to my brother from another mother, the one and only Anthony Burrell.
Good morning. Good morning, guys. I'll put a little more energy in it. So I have not slept, but only 1 hour because I just recently moved into my new studio, my performing arts studio, which reopened, which relocated and reopened due to COVID. So I'm operating off of peppermint tea right now. So I want to just thank you guys for accepting me into your space. You know, I can dance all day. So if you guys want to dance about it, you know, I can be very articulate and clear. So I'll try and be as eloquent and concise and just articulate about my experience and anything that you want to know about Anthony. We're in this space, guys, this 2D space, and it's been rough. It's been rough, but like being able to connect with people in this 2D space like this, it's something so special about it. You know, it's kind of taking it back to like my first experience with dance. And that was with music videos and how I used to sit at the screen and watch music videos over and over and over again. And so now that we're in the same space of watching dance in a 2D setting, um, I've learned to make that my piece. You know, it's not our norm. Who knows if our norm will ever be fully the same? But yeah. So I'll start from the top and go all the way to now. My name is Anthony Burrell. I'm a dancer, actor, choreographer, philanthropist, director of a school now in Atlanta. But my career started when my training and dance journey started at the age of 12. Um, when it just happened, and it happened really, really fast. It was an experience that I could have never imagined happening. And in fifth grade, I was retained for missing 40 days of school. So after that year of being retained, I was, of course, in fifth grade again for the second time. And during that second time in fifth grade, I was able to receive some grant funding from my school to go, because I mean, the reason I was left back was because of the 40 days absence. You know, I was a really, you know, I had a bright future. You know, it's just that I was forced with a mother that was faced with drug addiction, and my insecurities, I was embarrassed at times to go to school because of what I wore, because of what you know, I didn't feel like I had on the cool Jordans like all those like all the other kids at school. So it was an opportunity for me to you know, cut school and not be seen and not be teased on and not be talked about not to be teased about my mother's addiction. So I would cut school. I wouldn't go to school. I would just walk around the city. But then that second year, that summer, I had joined a hip hop group called the South Philly Shakers. I'm from South Philadelphia. And what I remember most about that group is we danced in Gold LeMay, and I had my first New York audition and first experience with auditioning in New York. Little did I know that South Philly Shaker group would kind of segue me into where I am today. The guidance counselor saw me at a talent show from my middle school, and I was also on the basketball team and recommended a sports camp and a basketball camp. And in the summer times, a fifth grader, you know, we want to sleep. So the basketball camp started at 7:30 a.m. The dance camp started at 9:30 a.m. So I took the dance camp. And which was called the Point Breeze Performing Arts Center, which was owned by Donna and Al Brown, who were not dancers at all. Donna Brown's mother was a seamstress in the community in Philadelphia, who created this art center to pour into the community and give young children in the South Philadelphia community an opportunity to dress up in costumes, to perform in street festivals. And that lineage from her mother to Donna Brown is the reason why I stand here today. And I'm super grateful for those non-dancers that wanted to enrich and encourage the community. Donna Brown and Al Brown took me under their wing at Point Breeze Performing Arts Center, community-based school, but had so much talent running from the University of the Arts through the community center. So with all of those different, musical theater teachers, musical theater graduates, modern dance graduates, just all of this wealth of information coming through this little community center touched me, inspired me. I ended up auditioning for their company, which was the Positively to the Point, and made it to the company. And once I made it into the company, I remember sitting in the lobby of the building and watching a video of Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater, and it was an old VHS. So you guys don't really know much about the VHS situation, but the VHS situation is how I got to watch my biggest mentors, how I got to watch Desmond Richardson, how I got to watch Matthew Rushing on these tapes. And I would idolize these tapes. I would go on PBS, what was that, PBS? And videotape anything Ailey that would come on. And that was how we research our heroes. Now Instagram takes a whole new space in how we watch dance and how we appreciate dance. So I say that VHS story because the accessibility we have with dance now and versus then, I feel like those VHS moments made me so neurotic about it. Like I was so like, I want to be like you. I want to be there. This man looks just like me. And Alvin Ailey doing Fix Me Jesus with his little big mini, with his baby afro. I had hair then. I'm a little bald now. But he had hair that he looked just like me, or my uncles. And I was like, yo, this is where I fit in. This is me. So from that moment of that summer, every day of my life was to be in that company. Everything I did was to stand in the shoes of those dancers that I saw. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think of my story. So yeah, of course, at that point in time, my mother, again, was battling her addiction, so I was raised by my grandmother. My grandmother was on a fixed income and couldn't really do what she could to provide for dance training, because we know dance lessons are a $1 kajillion. I ended up getting a scholarship from the school. After my scholarship from the summer, they extended my scholarship. All I had to do was pay $25 for the year. Do you know we never ever paid those $25 a year? Like I was like, why did they never kick me out? Because my grandma I would like tell my grandma, like, Nana, we have to pay this. I'm going to get kicked out. Like, and this was the first time I like had found discipline and found structure. I've been in the midst of writing my thesis proposal, and I was stumped. And I immediately went back to my childhood and why I love dancing. And I started dancing because of my traumas. And I found that discipline that I never received from my family, from anyone. It was the discipline that attracted me to the dance. Anthony, you got to be in ballet class at 9:30 on Saturday. Anthony, you got company rehearsal. Anthony, you have to wear leotards and tights. Nobody cared how I looked before. Nobody cared about me being on time for school. So that was that was the excitement for me. That was like the first time I felt like someone cared. Um, Fast forward, I'm in high school, in the performing arts high school, now working with one of the Horton legends, Faye Snow, who studied under Jimmy Truitt, who was Lester Horton's protege. So studying, second generation Horton for, my high school years, every day, 2 hours a day, um, was something that, like, whoever's up there, he had to set out for me. Like, I felt like it was just all mapped out. This was my destiny. I could have went to that basketball camp and I could have been in the streets with my friends that have, were out selling drugs, were out doing dope. But that path was cut out. It was cut out for me. And I try and I ask myself all the time, why me? How did Anthony manage to escape, manage to weave through all of this madness? And it was that vehicle of dance, you know? Dance was that vehicle that elevated me out the hood and took me to Hollywood. It gave me so many experiences that I'm so grateful for. So I'll continue with my experience in high school. Um, my teacher, Faye Snow, was all about academia, and you had to maintain a B average to stay in the school. Of course, I was focused on the dance. Like, it wasn't my thing. It wasn't my thing. I knew where I wanted to go. Alvin Ailey, I saw you. I'm coming, Alvin Ailey. So my eyes were there. My mind was there. So there was a point where I checked out. I checked out of school in 11th grade. And I was like, I just want to train. So I auditioned for a company called Koresh in my 11th grade year, which is a prominent dance company, Koresh Dance Theater, prominent dance company in Philadelphia. And Roni Koresh is he's from, I think he hails from Israel, Batsheva background. And he had this presence about him, this demeanor about him that was really alluring, really alluring as a 17-year-old boy that had never seen a man with this long, luxurious hair, with this bravado. Like, he had this presence. And I was like, wow, okay, I want to learn from you, And it was his carriage. It was the way he walked into a room, the way he commanded a studio space. I was scared as hell. I was threatened. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, who is this man? Until I got to work in the studio with him, and he respected me as this little high school student working with these college students in his company, and gave me so many jewels and information, because it wasn't just the Black experience I was having at that point. It was a whole different experience of him working with, learning Gaga technique and learning just, he was a soldier, for goodness sake. He was a soldier. So that discipline that he brought to the studio is something that I took on myself. And a lot of people, to this day, like, Anthony, you're really tough in the studio. But I believe all of those lessons that Roni Koresh, Wayne St. David, Donald Lunsford, all those male figures in my life instilled in me. I think it was part of, I know for certain, they saw that lack of discipline that I held, because I was very mouthy as a kid. When you don't have that structure, I think I can talk back. You're not my daddy. You're not my mama. That was my say. That was my favorite line, because my mama didn't even care at that, but she cared, but she just wasn't present. So I could say those things and get away. I could get away with those things. So being in Koresh Dance Theater at the age of 17 was a really big accomplishment for me. You couldn't tell me that my stuff didn't stink, and I started to gain this confidence that, oh, I'm good because I can dance with the big dogs, and I'm still in high school. That was my thing. Ended up leaving that company because I got into it with him, because Roni Koresh wasn't my mama. So I ended up quitting that company at that age and going to Philadelphia second company. And that journey was a journey that, kind of spearheaded my direction to Alvin Ailey. Philadelphia is more than, like, it's definitely like a through line to the Ailey company. You know, the rep, the rigorous training, the style of training, and yeah, it's just it's like it's almost it's a pipeline straight to Ailey company. There's maybe about 6 Ailey dancers, 6 Philadelphia dancers in the Ailey company now, and I'm from Philly, so knowing that Philadelphia was that baby Ailey, I was like, okay, this is the place for me. I got kicked out of there too. Yep, got kicked out of that place too, and it was, this is a little personal, but there's a lot of Me Too movements going on around. I had an inappropriate relationship with someone that was older, and the reason why I'm speaking about this is because it's like it's necessary, and I think there's a lot of inappropriateness, misconduct going on in our community, and I was one that was afraid to speak up, or not afraid to speak up, but because of my situation, I was receiving things that I was receiving that love from an older person that I wasn't getting from my mother or my father. And, and I think that was the attraction, So I said that I was removed from the school for that reason. And I mentioned that because it is my story, and it's a part of the trials, the triumph that I've achieved. Because I eventually went back to Philadelphia, and auditioned and got into the company that same year. But I was stricken with the opportunity to go to Ailey at the same time, and Lion King. So I booked 3 major jobs at my first year of University of the Arts. I knew I wasn't going to last there. I knew I wasn't going to last. I knew the structure system wasn't for me. I only went because my guardians, Donna and Al Brown, the directors of Point Breeze Performing Arts Center, ended up adopting me and taking me into their homes from my 10th grade year up until I finished school. And when I finished school, I got into Ailey's second company. They ended up, taking care of me there, paying my rent for the whole entire year. Even though I had a job, they like you have to go away from Philadelphia and live your life. They saw that talent, they saw that ability, and they nurtured it and made sure that I had every opportunity to see me make it, to see me get there. So now I'm in Ailey. I've traveled the world for 3 years at this point. I'm one of the youngest dancers in the company. I am the youngest dancer in the company at the time, and one of the youngest dancers hired ever for the company. And I get an opportunity to speak. I get an opportunity. Desmond Richardson. I'm not sure if you guys know Desmond Richardson, but Desmond Richardson calls the Alvin Ailey Lounge at 3:00 on our lunch break. And he says, "Oh, Beyonce's choreographer is looking for guy dancers that are 6 feet." And a lot of guys are not really 6 feet in our community, so it's like a slim picking. So I go to this casting. Like I take an Uber from my lunch is 3 to 4, so I jump in the Uber, go to Radio City Music Hall, and I meet Frank Gatson, who's Beyonce choreographer, and he's like, "I'm looking for the male dancers," and I walk up to him. I'm like, "Hey, I'm one of the dancers." He was like, "You dance?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." I was like, he said, "Well, where do you work?" I was like, no. I was like, "Yeah, I do dance." And he was like, "Cool. Can you show me something?" So I did like a 6:00 tilt. And he was like, "Oh, okay, come with me." So he took me for a walk and immediately took me to Beyonce's room. Now you take me to this lady. I don't know. I've never met a celebrity in my life. And I go into this lady's dressing room. He's like, "Look what this boy can do. Look what this boy can do." And I go in there and do this same 6:00 tilt. And we immediately get into this dialogue about how her sister is a trained dancer and how she's trained and so on and so forth. And that was an instant connection from that point. I immediately was hired for the job. I'm going to give the expedited version. Fast forward 3 months later, a month later, they flew me out to California for Jay Leno. I did Jay Leno, and I just walked her down the steps. And they said, because you got that technique, we know if she fall down these steps, you can partner her and dip her and make her look fabulous. Okay. And to fly to LA to receive a check for like $1,500 to do one show kind of trumped my whole LA check. So I was like, okay. I took noted. Um, got that taste, and it was like my mind was like, 3 months later, they called me again for a Billboard Music Award. I've done hip hop when I was a kid, the South Philly Shakers, but I've never trained in hip hop. And being a classical trained dancer, we're stuck, we're upright. We're like, I'm pulled, baby. I'm on my leg. Like I ain't trying to juke and get gritty like this. Not right now. No, I wasn't in that space. Especially, I mean, I was neurotic about technique. I was neurotic about being exquisite, like squeaky clean technique. That was my thing. So getting that first experience with Beyonce and at the dancing wise at the because the first job I wasn't doing anything. I was just in a black unitard head to toe, like moving motionless like this around her. So it was still in my vibe. The second time I was walking her down the step. The third time they had me hip hopping. So and it wasn't my thing at the time. And that was before I considered myself a chameleon. That was before I considered myself a virtuoso, like a virtuous dancer. And I was insecure, I did the job. And this is when I had to make a really important decision at that job. I was offered that after the performance, Beyonce and Frank called me into a meeting and was like, hey, Beyonce's going on tour and we want to offer you a position to go on the ladies first live at Wembley. It was Wembley, her UK tour. And they offered me a position to be on her tour. And they told me what the bells and whistles were. We were going to shoot a DVD. The tour was only like 4 weeks. I would make $2,500 a week. Plus I would get $250 extra a week for being dance captain. And plus our per diem, which ended up being over $3,000 a week for my first dance job. In Alvin, I was making $795 a week at that point in time. I was maybe making $925 at that point in my third year in my contract. And they offered me that position. So, and I'm in Ailey at that point. So we're getting ready for our New York season. This is November. I'm 2 weeks out from City Center. So I call Miss Jamison. Hi, Miss Jamison, how are you? So I got this opportunity of a lifetime, Miss Jamison. This young new artist, Beyonce, who's was in a group called Destiny's Child, that's going on this European tour, and I would need 2 weeks leave to do this tour. I said, this will be parallel to you working with Duke Ellington. You being a sophisticated lady, it gives me another level of stardom in my dance. It gives me another plateau in my dance. And all I got was, if I don't see you in the studio tomorrow, you don't have a job. And that next morning I was on a flight to London. And that kind of it was that moment where I had to make that choice to go right or to go left. And I chose to go with Beyonce. And not only because of name recognition, but the opportunity. And I saw a future in it, and I saw a bigger paycheck, and I saw that there was a future after Alvin Ailey, because a lot of dancers get into these companies and they saturate and they stay and they some people find homes in these companies. But as an Ailey dancer, I saw that all of those dancers in that company were absolute stars. Everybody has something so unique, something so individual that I don't think they saw themselves, like everybody was my superhero in that company. So once I left, I didn't realize I had that same power. how Beyonce would say things to me like, "Ooh, you're like a hip hop star. You done did that. You're like a protege." And she would like make me feel like I was special. I'm like, "Oh, really? Okay." Like, and that's what really spiked my confidence. Besides performing on the stage with her every night, and I know that not those people weren't really like clapping and applauding for me. You know, I'm in the background behind her, so maybe they're looking at me when my shirt is off. But that's the only other time. Like, I'm the background the eye candy, and I'm fine with that. I was fine with it. Working with her, it just opened up a new arena. It opened up a new arena of like opportunity. After that tour, we shot the DVD, and Beyonce kind of took off from there. From that tour, I went on another tour with her US tour. And from that tour, she took me right on with her to Destiny's Child, Destiny Fulfilled. And from that tour, I got a random call from Rihanna's people. We want you to be in her video. And she, of course, I guess she saw me on Beyonce's DVDs. And like when you're Beyonce in that 2003 era, she kind of changed the game for female artists. And everyone was looking up to her. Everyone was trying to be. Everyone was emulating, trying to emulate. So from her team to her dancers to her wardrobe stylist, we were hired out on her off time. And Rihanna was someone that direct booked me for 3 of her music videos right away. And of course, I took the opportunity, and I ended up working with her for 2 years as her dancer, then moved on to her choreographer. And that was the first time I became a choreographer in the commercial dance setting. Insecure as ever, because I've never choreographed any stage productions of that value, that magnitude. And it was a great lesson to be able to be in front of a room and give hundreds and hundreds of dancers opportunity to audition but like take jobs that went to Europe and you know, things that I just never imagined. I imagine just being in positions that I thought I never thought I'd be in. I'm a kind of like skim through the Rihanna story. So choreographed the Nobel Peace Prize, World Music Awards, MTV Awards, and
Faithful video.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The video where you was there.
Oh, so I was on, like, if you look up SOS, you'll see that little half afro that I was talking about in Alvin Ailey. I was in Rihanna's SOS video. I was also in her Unfaithful video, and I was also in her We Ride video. All those were her leading singles off of her second project, and gave me another level of like visibility, billions, millions, and millions of views. So that led to me not being able to audition. Well, they called me for Beyonce's tour, and because I was working with her, it was a conflict of interest. You know, she was starting to buzz, and you know, I couldn't work with Beyonce. Beyonce was like, "I can't work with you if you're working with her." I understood. You know, I could, and it wasn't in a shade way, but it was just like, it was her management saying like, I was a big part of her brand. I was a big part of Beyonce's brand as that alpha male dancer behind her, and she wasn't really like featuring me being in her video. And you know, she was close with Jay and the family, so it wasn't like I was excluded. They understood the opportunity I had as a choreographer. So what she did was, I went to a rehearsal to structure like a bolero number for her, and I was in there dancing. I was trying to get my job back, and they saw me in the room, and they was just like, "What will it take for you to leave her?" And she offered me a check that I couldn't deny, and it wasn't more about the check, but it was the position, assistant choreographer, as well with her. Frank Gatson was the lead choreographer, and I took the job, and I went back on tour with her. And it was just like home. You know, she embraced me, she challenged me. She was still not as rich. She still wasn't the Beyonce she is now, that on that tour. She still didn't have that Beyonce money that she has now. So that stadium money, I'll call it, stadium change. Um, and yeah, like that tour was one of the best tours of my life. Being able to tour 90 countries with with her. Yeah. It was like 9 months of like every 2 days we were in another space, you know, every 2 days for almost a year and a half. Um, from Australia to, you know, Ethiopia, you know, where else did we go? To Russia, um, Latvia, like Riga, like anywhere. I'm like, I've never even studied half these places in my geography class, you know. So it was like, it was a history lesson for me, you know. Yeah, it was a history lesson. So that happened. From that job, I think I was just doing more modeling at that time, and at that time I became a single father. I met my um, mother of my child on a job. I was doing modeling with Nike, doing industrials in Europe, and she was a model from Europe. Um, and yeah, I mean, and I say this story is just that, like, I never imagined, you know, being a single father, but meeting her in Malta of all places and kind of formulating a relationship. Malta is like this little teeny place next to Turkey and the Mediterranean. And I'm just like, that was that purpose. She was my purpose for my daughter. You know, my daughter is a gift to me. It's something that I'm very grateful for, because she took over that discipline, that my will. That's what my everyday is for, you know, my daughter now. Like, I stop buying myself fancy sneakers because, you know, she likes fancy sneakers, you know, and we both can't have fancy sneakers. So now I understand, you know, that the bill, that light bill, or that studio bill that I have to pay is way more important than those Jordans, because we both can't have them. So I ended up getting direct booked on well, no, I didn't get direct booked on the marriage after Beyonce tour ended. I auditioned for Mary J. Blige tour, and they were just like, "We're looking for dancers that act," and I was like, "Okay." So I went in there, and they were just like, they told me to act out a scene. I'm like, "Cool." I never really acted before, besides in the community center at Point Breeze Performing Arts Center. So I went in there. They told me that act as, you know, it's a Mary J. Blige song. So if you know Mary J. Blige, you know she not gonna cry. She got drama. She got all this stuff going on. So they put on a song, and they told me that, and they prompted some cues. They directed me and ended up booking the job. On that tour, I did one number. I got paid $17.50 a week to do one number on stage. I didn't do one step. I came on in my suit like I was coming home from work, and I was confronted by my wife that another woman called her and said that I was having her child. And I had to act that out on stage. And that was my tour. So needless to say, it was the best, worst job of my life, because I gained 20 pounds just eating, eating craft services every day. I would eat, and eat, like, you know, and it's a different lifestyle from like the Illy check. So I was eating good. Like, they had brisket, salmon, desserts, salads, like a full course on the tour catering. And after that Murray tour, I was like, yo, I don't want to do this ish no more. You know, I'm like, I didn't feel that love, you know, because I guess I wasn't dancing on that whole entire tour. So the tour ended in April. And with my big old self, I went back to the Illy audition after no training from 5 years. I went on 5 commercial tours, and no training, no classes, no nothing. And I went back to the Illy audition after quitting on them, because I forgot to mention that I quit my contract Well, I left my contract right before City Center and was blackballed from the Illy organization. But 5 years later, 30 pounds heavier, I went to that audition and I got my job back. And I told them that this was my life. This was something that I worked for all my life. And I don't feel like I completed my dream of being in the Illy organization. Fast forward a year later, it was the worst decision of my life to go back to that organization. I say it was the worst decision because I was just a different dancer. My body had changed. I was older. I was a father. I had different responsibilities. I couldn't pay my rent because I went back to that starving artist check. I went back to making a third of what I was making, $1,100 from the $3,500 a week jobs that I was making. But I did it because I loved it. And it wasn't about the money for me. And I realized having all that money and working with all those artists didn't mean anything. I'm an artist. So get yourself back back into shape. I tried my best. It didn't work out so much. So when I auditioned, of course they accepted me, but they put me on probation. It was like, you have to do boop, 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 boop in order to get, in order to pass the probationary period. Of course, it wasn't much. Like, they loved me at the ALEs. So they just wanted to give me a hard way to go because I left them high and dry the first time. And coming back, I was in the studio so the first time I was in ALE, I was there with people that worked with Mr. ALE directly. The second time I was there, so there was legacy, there was richness in the movement, there was richness in the spirit of the dancers. The second time I went back, it was the students. So I'm in there dancing with people that had no connection to Mr. ALE himself, his words. Of course, Miss Jamison and Chaya passed down, but the dancers that were coached by Mr. ALE himself, the Renee Robinsons, Desiree Vlads, people that sat in the studio with him were no longer there. And their information had been passed on to other dancers that had left. Because I was, for a 5-year span in ALE, you can get a whole swoop-de-doop. And when I went back, it was the 50th anniversary, and it was like a kindergarten class. Everybody was like super thin. Everybody was like super like balletically like trained, classically like, and I'm classically trained, but I was eating craft services for 5 years, so I was like, I was different. I was really different. And yeah, I just didn't have the best experience there. So I left again. And the moral of the story is I'm not a quitter, guys. I quit again because how I quit was, it was the last day of City Center. And I told Miss Jamison, I was like, Miss Jamison, I can't pay my rent this month. I danced 5 weeks here at City Center, 8 shows a week, 5 weeks, and I can't pay my rent. Like this is insane. I'm one of the premier companies in the world. And she was like, well, you knew what you were signing up for. If this is something you don't want to do, you can leave now. You can leave. You can walk away with nothing. And that was a test. That was a test from her. And I failed miserably because I left the door and went into my dressing room and cried my eyes out because it was my history happening all over again. I immediately, was depressed in my bed the whole month, and what made it so surreal was the last ballet I performed was a hymn for Alvin Ailey. And the hymn for Alvin Ailey was the video cassette tape that I watched over and over and over and over again. So it felt like a full circle moment, like, wow, that was the last ballet I actually got to perform. And it hurt. It hurt because I was like, it felt like the ending. And it was the ending. And I eventually, I was depressed about it because I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. And So You Think You Can Dance came around. And, that's when I was like, oh, let me go. I don't have a job. Let me see what I can do. And mind you, before I left Italy, I also auditioned for Memphis the Musical 3 days before as a replacement for Danny Tidwell, and booked it. Went on an audition in between a matinee and the evening show at City Center, and was cramping like, oh, I was a holy hot mess at the audition. Like I was cramping, sir, like I just had a show. Like, guys, you understand I can really do this movement. They ended up hiring me anyway. And I ended up like turning down a job just to quit Ailey 2 days later. So I missed out on the opportunity to be in Memphis, and then quit Ailey 2 days later. Ended up doing So You Think You Can Dance. Was this big like to do that I was on there from the judges. Like, you know, they made it seem like, Anthony, you're the one to beat. And they ended up not taking me on the show. So that was another like, it gutted me. So I would, you know, there was times where I would just teach and choreograph to make money. I felt like my career was over. I felt like, oh, this is my demise. Like, I was literally blackballed. I was like, maybe I won't work again, until I got a call again. So guys, y'all have to, it's these direct books. Like I'm keep talking about these direct books that I've been booked on. So and it's the relationships and the visibility that you set for yourself. And I just want to put that in there for you guys. Like, so the relationships that you're fostering now are the relationships that will be the relationships that even you are the choreographers, you are the next directors, you are the next producers that will hire, that will facilitate opportunities. So, and I think that was the biggest thing I got from So You Think You Can Dance was a direct book for Katy Perry's tour. I never was a fan of her music. I didn't care about her personality, but I got a direct book tour. Great. And it was different for me because I've never worked with the artist that wasn't Black. And it was a different experience. Katy Perry, even though Katy Perry was new, she had different money than Beyonce, who has been like, who was killing the game. But I don't know where Katy Perry got her money from, but she had it, and she paid what she weighed. So it was like I took the job. I didn't get along with her, and ended up experiencing a re-injury that I experienced in Italy from my lower back, L4, L5, and that injury came from Centerman doing all those back tees and layouts. So Ailey owes me some money too. From you know, we put ourselves through so much, guys. You know, we endure so much with this art. You know, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. You know, so it's worth it though. You know, because the love that we share for this art it compares to nothing else. It compares to nothing else. So even though sometimes we facing all these challenges, stay true to what you love. This is another little tip that I got put in there because it gets hard. It gets hard, you know, and you got to be comfortable as an independent contractor in those in-between times. You just never know what's going to happen. And I found solace in that space at times. Once I started gigging and getting more jobs, I started looking at that in-between time like, oh, I need this break. I need this time for me. I need this time to figure out how I'm going to recalibrate and tune off so that I can be ready for the next situation. So where was I? I ended up the Mary job, the Katy Perry job, got injured, ended up being sent home from the tour because of my back injury. And they flew me to New York to go see a specialist. And as I'm in New York, I run into one of the dancers from Beyonce. And they're like, oh, we didn't know you were in town. And again, my injured self go hopping into a studio and Beyonce asked me to choreograph a video for her. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, if they catch me on this workers' comp, trying to, you know, choreograph this video, I'm sitting down in a chair, L4, F5, like trying to choreograph. And word got back to Katy Perry, and that was that. And that's when I officially became a choreographer for the Beyonce team. They took me under their wings. I choreographed numerous videos, assisted on tours from that point on. And, you know, it even got to a point where like they called me. can you guys see me? I can't see you guys. Oh yeah, they called me randomly on Halloween and was like, "Are you available to fly to Australia?" I said, "What do you mean tomorrow?" I said, "When is it?" They was like, in 12 hours. And I was like, "Well, what is it for?" It was like, "Well, you just have to get here and we'll explain everything to you." Like, so you want me to fly to Australia and you want me to choreograph something, but you don't want to prep me. You don't want to send me no music. You don't want to give me anything. Okay. And that's how Beyonce World just became that exclusive, that concise and private. And those NDAs are serious. When you start signing those NDAs and you're responsible for like $1 million of information, I'm like, okay, you will not say nothing today. You will not tell nobody you're in, like, and we couldn't post our location, we couldn't Snapchat, we couldn't do anything until after the video was released. And it was never hard. It was never hard. And the team that she surrounded herself with, it was never hard for the team because we pride ourselves in the work that we were doing and in creating great work. So those experiences like that with Beyonce kind of like, and So You Think You Can Dance, I started doing that kind of opened up a new world of reality TV. And I kind of got into that reality world after that. Like I got that TV bug. My cousin randomly was production exec for Collins Ave, who was Dance Moms. And I just met this cousin. He was like, "Hey, cuz, I might got an opportunity for you." I was like, "Okay, cool." I didn't know what it was. I went into the office. They did a little interview. And it was like, "So how are you in the studio?" Like trying to get information. Like, "So how do you act in the studio?" And it ended up being Dance Moms. They ended up putting me on this show. And that was the worst job of my life. Like emotionally, like it took so much out of me because it was like to be produced on a show. Like we want you to drive this narrative. We want you to really push this and ask why they don't do this and tell those mothers that you're this and tell those mother you're that. And I'm like, okay. And I was going for it because that check was even bigger than the dance check. I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll be a flunky. And I ended up being in that for like 3 or 4 years, from season 1 of Dance Moms. And I went to Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, then back to Dance Moms, then to Raising Asia, then back to Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition. Like he kept me working for like 4 years in that hiatus of not, working as a dancer with artists. I kind of segued myself away from dance after that last experience with Katy Perry. Like, I realized my body had definitely changed and like dancing that vigorously wasn't for me anymore. And I started being insecure because I was in my 30, I was like 33 at that point. And I always kind of had that thing in my mind, like, oh, dancers at 35, your career is over. They always said that crazy number, like at 35, you don't really dance no more. And I'm just like, we're a different crop of dancers now with the gyro, with the Pilates, with just the way that we train. We just have different information that we all have hips now. A lot of people in that other generation don't have hips because of the way that they were training. They have, these knee injuries because of the way that they were training. And there's a lot of information that kind of excluded me from that group. And of course I still dance, but my focus was more being in the upper management in the studio. I got a call, another direct book from Debbie Allen. Her daughter called me, was like, "Hey, my mom's looking for a job. My mom's looking for a guy. Would you be willing to go to New York?" I was in Cali. I was like, "Cool." They was like, "Could you get to New York?" I was like, "Yeah, I can get to New York." And I flew myself to New York. And luckily I did, because it was Mariah Carey. And, if you know Mariah, she's not a dancer at all. Like not even like the little bit on your fingernail that stick up, like not even that much. And I was just there to partner her, be that alpha male again. And Debbie Allen, She's amazing. She's a woman that like gave me an opportunity that I could never like forget. Like I remember performing a Mariah Carey number in the South Philly Shakers. So to 20 years later have a full circle moment where I'm her choreographer using that same exact song, you know, it was like, wow, I'm really living my purpose. And Debbie, that same shoot, Debbie was directing Grey's Anatomy. So Miss Island left me on the set with Mariah to direct her to like, she was like, baby, I trust you, baby. You go ahead, sugar. I was like, Miss Island, like, she was like, I got to go direct this Grey's Anatomy. And I was like, I got you. And all I did was swirl her around. Mariah held her in my arms, put her down, and just made her feel like that partnering experience that all male dancers have. I made her feel protected. I held her in the right place. I guided her, made her lines look good. Like, and she, from that point, regardless, it was like she took me everywhere with her. She was like, I want to hire you for this. I want to hire. She took me on vacation with her to work with her with movement. She took me on vacation with her to Bora Bora. I didn't do anything. I sat and ate her good food, you know? I didn't do anything. It was like those experiences were experiences that I got by working with, you know, artists like Mariah. You know, I became her creative director after dancer. You know, I kind of climbed up from the dancer. Then I went on to the choreographer. Then from choreographer, I went to creative director. So I was getting 3 checks with Mariah. I've never made that much money in my entire life in a week. And I hate to keep putting emphasis on the money, but it's for a reason. $10,000 a week, I can just put a week just for doing bip bopping with Mariah Carey. And fast forward 4 years later of being creative director, we do Dick Clark New Year's Eve production. And, you know, the performance, I don't know, it went viral where she didn't sing, where she just kind of walked around. I got the blame for that. And if you look at the video, you'll see that my dancers are like pristine, like staging, everything was calculated. We were there rehearsing a week prior. I had a stand-in. But what later came out was that nothing really came out about that per se. But my story is that, not my story, but my experience was she was experiencing an episode, and she later came out and expressed about her bipolarism, and which she was hiding during that time, and kind of put that on me, which kind of ruined me as a creative, you know, to be headline news that Mariah Carey's choreographer was fired, which wasn't the case. My contract ended New Year's Eve, you know, December 2016. And that next month, I was getting ready to go back to Beyonce for her Grammys performance where she revealed her pregnancy. And I had to let them know, like, yo, I got this opportunity with Beyonce. And yeah, you know, Beyonce, it was supposed to be the Grammys going straight into Coachella, but we didn't know she was pregnant. I just had the schedule, and we thought we was gonna try to roll her around in a wheelchair for Coachella the first time when she was pregnant, but but that didn't happen. I just ended up canceling it. So after that whole New Year's Eve fiasco, where they pinned that performance situation on me, I felt like that was it for me commercially. I was like, I've exhausted myself with all of these artists, and became not a yes man, but you have to like coddle these artists because everyone always tells them yes. Yes, you look great. Yes, oh, that costume's fabulous. Oh, that song is great. And I'm the artist. So I'm like, oh, that don't look good. Oh, your meat is hanging out the side. We got to fix that costume. And as a woman, like she was sensitive about her weight. And there were things that I was saying that was, you know, it was just insensitive. And it wasn't direct. It wasn't to be, offensive to her. as her creative director, I'm like your eyes, I'm your ears, I'm your everything. So if I see this from the side of the stage, wardrobe, come get her in her quick change, fix this right away, take tighten her corset, you know, so we don't get that overlap on top of her dress. And it's just like a vanity thing, because when you're a Mariah Carey, pictures, all you need is one picture to go viral around the world, and people will make fun of that picture. So I was taking preventative measures. So her management had this thing out against me, which is why she felt like I had more power than her, because I was directing everything besides her career, you know, managing her career. So her manager was the one that kind of got me fired and put the spin in the press. That right there, totally, it turned me away from dance, took me away from my art. It turned me away from everything that I ever dreamed of doing. And I stopped. I had a nice cushion, a nice bank account. I purchased a house. I paid off my car. I paid off my student loans. And I was just living. And I was just living my life, trying to figure out what was my next. I've always dreamed of opening up a performing arts school. So I took that year and a half and I searched for buildings, flew to Atlanta. And I don't know why I decided Atlanta was my home. It was just that spiritual thing that connected me with the city. And I think because I have a big emphasis on community engagement and working with kids in the community and philanthropy, because of my story, how I got started, and the access dance gave me. I wanted to be that access for someone else in the community that didn't have the resources, that didn't have the support of a family, or just any, or just you know, in the hood, there are not many schools that have dance schools, and if they are, you know, they're far and few. So I wanted to go back, leave Hollywood, and go back to the hood, and like kind of make that happen. So I found a school, and I created Anthony Burrell Center for Dance. And it became everything that I've ever imagined as a director, as a choreographer, as a teacher, as a mentor. I got to inspire and enrich so many different kids in that program. But we were shut down in March due to COVID. I'm now in the process of opening up the second 2.0 location right now, which is why I was at the studio till 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm here. I mean, my life never stops. I love what I do. I'm passionate. I love to share what I've obtained over my years, information, knowledge, moves, experiences. So if I'm going to open up the floor, I know I just ramble. I got the white mouth. My mouth is like, I can barely
That was phenomenal, man. Like, I mean, one of the things that I really grasped from everything that you just mentioned, Anthony, was that your gratitude, man, your gratefulness, your understanding of your gifts, how you cultivated them, how you didn't choose the path that was the easiest. You chose the path that was cathartic for you, that was about you discovering new things about yourself, getting a lot of diverse experiences. Many of my students have heard me say, and you probably have too, because it's the mantra of 5, the key to longevity in any industry is versatility.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you were one of those people that left university, that I met with, that was at university. You left university and really just went in your own direction. Not a lot of people have that drive or that motivation or the gifts, or recognize that they have the gift, or the steadfast, like, kuli jakulia, the self-determination to make sure that you fulfill this thing that is your purpose. You recognize very on what your destiny was and connected and centered around movement. So you explored all these different ways in which you can move to now put you and give you the knowledge that you have now, to now have this studio, to now be able to go back to school and do your master's. All of these things kind of built on each other. And one of the things that's really also very important to me is the lineage and the legacy. And we've had a conversation about this, and all the people that you've mentioned that were so influential on the identity that you've been able to project of yourself as a male dancer in the commercial and in the contemporary world. You mentioned the Donald Lunsfords, you mentioned the Fabi Snows, you mentioned the Brown family. All of these are big names within the Philadelphia dance community, and Roni Koresh, and all of these, most of them were also teachers at the University of the Arts. So you made that transition from Point Breeze into UArts, and then found yourself recognizing, okay, this is home, but I still need more. I'm still surrounded by the same people that were teaching me, the companies that I've been working with for the past 5 years of my life. I need to explore more. I need to be able to take in more information so that I can continue to shine the light that I have, and to get to the point where you are now, to be the person who can create the space and create the platform for other kids similar to your own experience to have these opportunities. Somebody gave you a chance and you ran with it. So now you have the opportunity to give somebody else a chance, which is great, because that whole thing you talk about, things coming full circle, man, that's what life is all about. Yeah.
I absolutely agree that, like, you know, I realized that performing was never my I don't want to say this like and seem like it was never, I feel like my true mission in life was to transcend the information, was to get the information, to transcend it. You know, it was never about me being the vessel on stage. It was about me having those experiences so that I can foster that next generation and share that information with them and kind of navigate. Because, you know, to be honest, I was lost the whole entire way, faking it till I make it, till I made it. And I think that's the name of the game. You know, we got to fake it till we make it. You know, we're always going to have these insecurities when we walk into the studios about how we look, how we dance, do we fit in. You know, you got to understand what you have is so individual. It's so special. You know, your blonde hair, your blue eye, your kinky curl, you know, your little weave ponytail, whoever you are, when you walk into that audition, whoever you are, you have to own it the moment you win. And because they're not gonna know you're special if you don't know you're special in the front of that room. You know, you have to really believe that.
You also mentioned that you made the point of everybody in Ailey was your hero. Everybody was a star. You know what I mean? Like that mentality is something that you're speaking about now. Everybody here is a star. How will you illuminate the light that is within you? How will you separate yourself from all the other stars that exist in the galaxy so that you can shine and your twinkle can be seen? You know what I mean? Like, and one of the great things about what you were able to do, again, relating it to the aspirations of Five, because you were around in the establishment of when we started that company back in '99. I think you left school around that time. Yeah. When we did our tour with Raven, you were going on to do your thing. But you were able to bridge the gap between concert art and commercial entertainment. Because you were a classically trained dancer that had this commercial opportunity and were given the opportunities to then be creative in that space and respected by people like Beyonce and the Mariah Careys and all of these people that are in the industry that have a platform, you were respected for your craft and they trusted in your ability to do what you did. And it was great to see things that we trained so hard for in the studio and in all these other companies that we work for in contemporary dance and in modern dance, to see that in a commercial space. And that was, you know, when you touched on So You Think You Can Dance, there was no way they were going to keep you on So You Think You Can Dance. That show is about cultivating people that they can market. You were already established. I still remember the episode where Mia showed up at your apartment and y'all had, where she told you like what was going to happen. And like, but seeing that show and knowing what the show was about, there was no way they could keep you on the show. You were bigger than the show.
You know what the crazy thing, I'm glad you mentioned that, because Mia asked me, I was doing my solo and she was like, you were making a lot of faces. I was like, I was performing, you know, I mean, you know, this is She's like, you seem a little bit arrogant on stage. I was like, well, that's me being confident. You know, if I can't, and I told them that, I said, if I can't show you my confidence through my dancing, how am I supposed to make you believe that? You know, and that the panel was quiet. And I think I was talking too much on that. I should have just played the role, like, you know, told them my home story, because all they want is a story. They don't want nobody that's confident. They don't want nobody that's excelling. They didn't want that, you know, and I was just too far along in my career. You know, I have already like done Beyonce. I had already done Alvin Ailey twice, you know, so I had a career by that point. I did So You Think You Can Dance. It was just an opportunity to plateau, and I went for it. And I think that's a lesson for all of us. Don't count anything out, because there are always these opportunities or segues, and just like information, like pods, information pods of experiences that you encounter that may not make sense at that time, but years later, you'll be like, oh, okay. Just like, you know, right now, you like, oh, you remember what your teacher told you in 8th grade about engaging your inner thighs or your core, and like, and how stuff is like starting to click now. You're in college, like, damn, why didn't I connect my posse like this 5 years ago or something? You know what I'm saying? The information is still relevant, regardless of where you are in your life. And I challenge you all as a young dancer. I mean, I know you're still talking, Dr. Ross, but I think you guys challenge yourself to create an LLC, create a business, create something for yourself that will create residual income with this dance world, even if it's your private lessons, teaching. Start choreographing yourself, you know, like flex this time to like digital media. Now we're in this 2D space. Get creative with your iPhones. Get creative with those things and start creating different lighting options, you know, different lighting treatments, and record yourself, and just like peak new interests for yourself. Like, don't be pigeonholed by this pandemic. This is your vehicle. This pandemic is giving you the space to cocoon, to come out this beautiful butterfly, to be anything that you possibly want to be, you know. And that's why I'm like, I didn't give up on my school. I didn't give up on the school when they shut down. Like, I lost $80,000. It's okay. You know, it'll come back. The money, and that's why I don't fret on the money, because the richness comes from the experience I get from the children and how they make me feel. And there's not no dollar amount that can ever make me feel like that investment wasn't good enough. I made that $80,000 over and over and over again. So it wasn't about the financial at that point. I realized the riches are in, it's always been in the art. It's always been what fueled me. So if you guys are interested in the commercial world as well, my recommendation for you would be to train. You know, there's no blueprint to kind of navigate this concert. There's neither one of these worlds, but to train and have the information and have the discipline and have the work ethic in the professionalism in the space, in the rehearsal space. You know, I think a lot of people get these jobs, and which the community has changed, like, you know, as for dancers. So it's important to know how to conduct yourself in that space. And I think those are things that are not really taught. It's important to know how to read your contracts when you're negotiating contracts. It's important to always go back with the higher number. Don't never go for that low ball, that first number, ever. Anybody, teachers, university people as well. Okay, always go for that number again. Even if it's $5 more, you know? Like, because I feel like as dancers, we're the bottom of the barrel in this art world, and we accept any opportunity. We accept that first job because, you know, they're sparse. Like these things are not far. They're very far and few. And when COVID releases, I'm sure it'll be even more strict. So that's what I'm saying. Create these opportunities for yourself. Create this, you know, even if you want to do like little dance journals for little girls, create a dance book. Like what is something that you're not just this dancer. You are, you have that thing, that star thing that Dr. Ross is talking about, is how do you find that star? How do we investigate that star? How do we believe in ourselves enough to know that we have that star within us, to know that we shine bright, just like that Misty Copeland? What is our thing? And I think we have to take that individual journey to see what our thing is, you know? And I didn't necessarily find mine until I got that big situation with Mariah Carey, and I had to like quit commercial dance. And I knew this was something always my dream because I talked about it, but I was scared. I was scared to like leave the dance world because I would be a has-been, or I would be like, you know, yeah, that was my legacy now in the commercial dance world, on that Mariah situation. I was determined to dig myself out that hole, you know, and that determination, that discipline, my 3Ds, dedication, determination, discipline, got me up out of there. And it showed me it's that same thing that got me dancing in the first place. It's the same thing that got me this dance school. It's something I believed in, something that I love, something that I know I could do. And if you have those things, go 100% wholeheartedly. My plan A was my only plan. And I know that's not a good thing to tell dancers because, you know, but that was my only plan. I didn't see anything else. I didn't believe anything else. I was like this, tunnel vision, because I knew where I needed to be. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew that it was going to be hard, and I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I believed in it. And it was not one doubt in my mind during that process that I wouldn't be successful.
I feel that wholeheartedly, and like there was never a doubt in my mind once I started on this dance path that this was my purpose, a part of my purpose. And I think one of the things that you mentioned is that sense of purpose. Even though you work so hard to cultivate your craft and to cultivate your gifts, it's always been about a purpose that was greater than you. You know what I mean? Like as a performer, it's about sharing something greater than yourself. And now
I think that's my karma, though. I think that's when you do good, good comes back to you, you know.
Period. Like that, people don't believe in that reality, but it is very, very true. I think, and that's what's, you know, me having a personal relationship with you is different for people that don't know you the way that I do. I know how genuine you are. You know what I mean? I know how easy it was for you to come and talk to these students because of the relationship that we have. And you know what I'm attempting to try and share with these students and how my purpose here is about these students. And your purpose with what you're doing now is cultivating this new generation of individuals who know themselves and know how to move through the life and circumstances that they've been given. Because the path is not carved out for any one of us. You know, so some of us have to try a little bit harder to create our own paths.
And a lot of people have to figure that out. And it's like, I'm sure all you now in college are like, it gets real. It gets real. As soon as that last day of college happens, it's like day one of the rest of your life, you know, and the planning starts now. Do you guys want agents? Do you guys want to pursue a career in Broadway? Do you guys want to pursue a career in as a choreographer? As business owners, as teachers, you know, it's like, it's up to you right now to kind of carve that space out, like start etching it out, like because it doesn't happen overnight. It's one of those things that it has to brew like a good soup, like a good old soup. You keep adding different things here and there until it's your right. It's until it tastes right, until it feels right. You know, these are things that, like I always say, the process is continuous. We never stop growing. We're never, even now, I'm learning things about my body as a dancer that I wish I knew when I was on the stage as an educator, as a teacher, by finding things and really figuring out the science of my own body when I'm teaching and investigating other people's bodies. Like I see things differently now. It's so weird, like being a teacher now and like making this my life. I'm analyzing like little nuances in people's body, the way the neck is to the side, like how, like what's the science behind that? Like, and I'm so infatuated by this now, the next phase of how to change people's mind, because it all starts with the mind, believing, like even with the dance, it takes the mind to believe that you can do these movements. Yet the mind is so powerful. The mind is powerful in healing the body. The mind is powerful in navigating these opportunities and facilitating that, just that go get it. Like that go get it. And I always talk about my traumas. Like if it wasn't for my traumas, my mama and her addiction and not having those Jordans and being left back and being molested multiple times, like those things are things that I held on to as a kid, that I danced that stuff out. When I got into the studio, I was able to dance and express myself, and that became that thing that really drove me to that next level each and every time. It was my traumas, things that were meant to hold me back, was the exact thing that propelled me forward.
Yes, and you have heard me say that many a times. The things that are perceived as stumbling blocks, if you allow them to hold you back, they will, or to hold you down, or you think to yourself that you can't get around it, you won't. But these things can become the fuel that allows you to fulfill the purpose that is greater than those moments. You are not one moment, you are a sum of all the moments. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just seeing some of the chat messages. I'm sorry, guys. I see 86 messages. I see some. Can you talk more about Dance Moms? That I'm gonna leave Dance Moms right where it's at, because it was a traumatic experience for me, and I wouldn't, even for those kids, super talented kids, but I just don't think they were under the greatest direction. And because it was a stepping stone in my career, I don't want to demean anything. I don't want to demean any experience, even like the Mariah, how they tried to ridicule me and downplay me, who I was. I'm never going to talk bad about those experiences, because I got what I got out of those experiences and I moved on. And Dance Moms gave me a lot of notoriety, and a lot of people saw me as this angry Black man on TV. And I didn't, TV editing is, especially reality TV editing, they depict you how they want you to be seen. So yeah, it was a shit show, like for better words. Sorry.
So who has questions? Does anybody have any specific questions that you want to ask? Nandi, I see you with your hand up. Do you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question? Or you questions in the chat as well, people?
Okay. Hi, Anthony. My question to you actually kind of goes back to the classical dance world, because I've seen you at IBD. I've taken your classes before. I've also seen the pieces that you've done on Philadelphia and all of that stuff. So my question is more from the commercial dance and going through what you built for yourself. How did you or I don't know if something compelled you to come back to the classical dance theater constructed side, or just what made you want to come back as a choreographer versus being a dancer? I mean, you still are a dancer, but do you understand what I'm saying?
It's all I know. When you're in the experience, when you're it's what I lived, it's what I woke up breathing for a huge portion of my life. So it was my security blanket. Whenever I felt depleted with the job, I would always go back to concert dance. I will always go back to it because it's what I know. It's where my confidence was. It's where that superpower lied. It always refueled me. It always got me right back to where I needed to go. I could always count on it to make me feel great. It's my first love. That concert modern dance was always my first love. And I could always, I don't know if you guys are in a relationship or have been in relationships, but that one that was super special to you, it's that connection that just never goes away. So I'm forever indebted to a concert dance. I'm forever indebted to that ballet bar.
Anthony, you didn't mention this very much, but you kind of breezed over it. Can you speak about the fact about you've never really had any representation working within the realms that you have? You didn't have an agent, you didn't work for an agency, none of those things which people think you have to have in order to get booked for gigs.
Okay. So the thing about agency, it's agencies are relationships. They don't own you, you don't own them. It's a partnership, and it's like a marriage. They facilitate some opportunities. You go get the opportunities, you both make money together. Yeah, the reason why I didn't have an agent is because I got tired of giving people 10% of my money. right? And sometimes those agents will be snaky and janky and take 20%, 10% off top of the check and 10% from my check, which is a manager's fee of 17 to 20%. And agents are only supposed to take 10%. So once I found out agents were doing that grimy situation, I took it upon myself to represent myself and to get my own 20% on top of my regular salary, which ended up being like additional $500 a week, you know, that I was giving away to people that weren't even booking my jobs, you know, and weren't even like handling my contracts, because I was still dealing my contracts. So they can serve a purpose, especially for dancers segueing into the industry. But I think I have a different story. You know, I had the opportunity to have a huge name like Alvin American Dance Theater or a Beyonce behind me. That was my resume. That was my, you know, was my claim to fame in the dance industry. So it's different for each person. But I do say, I don't discourage anyone from getting an agent. I think we have to be clear on the roles we play with the dancer agent relationship.
True. Does anybody have any other questions for Anthony?
Yes.
I'm looking. Okay, Brooklyn.
Well,
good to see you again.
Oh, I was just basically asking, how did you stay grounded between both the commercial and concert dance, as well as because you were a freelance artist? Like, what kept you grounded between jobs?
When you say grounded, what does grounded mean for you?
Grounded as in sane, as in I don't know, just because I know, like, I don't personally know, but the commercial dance world can be sometimes a lot, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. So grounded as in like your spiritual.
I think the concert dance world is a little bit more strenuous than the commercial dance world. Commercial dance world, you do less bang for your buck. Commercial dance world, you're doing more buck for your more bang for no bucks, you know. So it's all for the love with the art, with the concert dance world. For commercial world, it was la la. I call it's la la land, you know, commercial la la land. So it's really la la, you know. It's like make believe. We go to these auditions, people are fabulous, you know. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, and if you know, it takes just like it takes a strong person to be able to survive in the big city, New York. Or in these concert dance companies, it's the same in the concert. And I think what kept me sane, grounded, was my daughter. You know, the ability to be able to provide for her and to continuously humble myself to do these jobs so that I know I can provide for her and my family and my brothers and sisters, and you know, take care of myself. It's always been about family for me. Always been about. I'm a Cancer, so I'm a sop at heart, you know. I'm a softie, so it's all about my family. And you know, I'm a loner, so it was easy to be grounded. I'm always in the house. My in between time, my favorite space, whenever everyone would ask me, what's your favorite place, what's your favorite thing to do when you're off tour? Sleep in my own bed. Like, it's nothing like sleeping in your own bed after being on tour for 6 months. I want to feel my sheets. I want to shuffle my feet up under those covers and snuggle my own pillows, and you know, look out my window and see the green grass. Like, there's nothing like being in your own space after being in hotel after hotel, being on someone's schedule.
There's a question about touring, seeing as how you talk about being in a hotel. Kayla Gonzalez is asking, what is the most memorable place that you got to travel to on your tours?
Oh, I told you, Addis was one of my most memorable moments. Because
see, don't start mentioning Ethiopia, because this is a sidebar.
Oh, no.
I was in Ethiopia when Anthony was there. He ain't call her brother. He come on with Beyonce. I have to see it on TV, and I'm like, Anthony here? He ain't even call me. Like, I didn't see the show. But Addis is lovely for those who have not been.
My experience was only because we were in Russia. the stop before, and we were sponsored by McDonald's, and we would get like free McDonald's coupons. So McDonald's was at the other end of the block, but in between the Ritz-Carlton and the McDonald's was these sports bars, and it was a football game. And these dancers, these locals were drunk after the game, and they attacked several of us dancers, calling us the N-word, go back to Africa with Will Smith, and just kind of like what you imagine a horror movie will feel like. It was that and it was like slow motion. It was like guys on each side of us throwing bottles at us, like kicking us in our butts. Like, it was a frightening experience. And one dancer even got a black eye. But the next stop on the tour was Addis. And geez, like to get off that plane and to see those people like my brother, my sister, like embracing me, like I'm getting chills right now, because it's just like I've never felt like I was home before, home away from home, and it was an experience that I've never forget. And I always, that stigma of what you see on Ethiopia, the kids with the flies and the big bellies, like it was something, it was totally different. It's like, it was the experience of a lifetime. The food was amazing. The culture was amazing. Like the people were, it was such a great experience. It was something that I would never forget. Oh, and another experience, performing for Barack Obama, when I went back to Italy the second time, when him and Michelle Obama went on their first date at the Kennedy Center. And I got to perform Cinnamon and Revelations. And that was something that I was like, yeah, wait till my grandbaby learn about his granddaddy. It's something that I can share a story with, that's two great moments that I always hold high in my travels in my dance career.
So many amazing moments in your career. And I think it's great that you had that experience to feel at home in Addis, because that's what I felt the first time that I went. And then I ended up moving there. So, I understand and I definitely identify with that sentiment. You also got the royal treatment because you were there with Beyonce, like which is great. Like, but what you're saying, everything that you're saying is so true. There's so much about what we're taught about the places that we experience before we experience it, but experience is the greatest teacher. You know what I mean? Like to actually be there and set foot in specific places and to feel the way that the community responds to you being there changes everything, gives you a different perspective about humans and how we're all connected. How come I'm not seeing nobody else ask a question? Who else has a question? We're running out of time here.
I have something. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carrie. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I just wanted to say that this was very inspirational. Like seeing you in person at IBD the first time that I saw you in Dayton. Like I remember my school was there, so we saw you like the last day, I think, maybe, and we were just like, that's Anthony Burrell, like we need to get a picture. And so like we're all scared to ask you, and we take a picture and then sing you again in Philly this year. It was like the same emotions, like the same butterflies, like we never saw you before. And just like hearing you talk about your experiences and just how humble you are, and just not seeing Anthony Burrell, this famous guy who kind of had it all laid out, but it wasn't like that. Like hearing you talk, just hearing the genuineness, that's really good. And I feel very inspired.
Well, thank you. I hope you take any of this information. And I think that's what it's about, is sharing, even if it's just verbally, about these experiences, to just give you the confidence and the know of you're enough. You are more than enough, and more than capable of achieving anything you put your mind to it. That mind is super powerful. It's like, I was neurotic. I know a lot. I feel like it's a different day in dance now. People are not like, it's just different a little bit. I'm not nothing against your generation, but you guys are just a little different. You guys operate a little differently. In a great way. I mean, because it's all about change and evolving, and you guys shouldn't work as hard as we did, because we've created opportunities for you to navigate differently in this space. So thank you for that. Thank you for Carrie. I appreciate that, and I strive to be as humanistic as possible in those experiences, because you know I know this may sound a little foolish, but my teachers told me, you're nobody special. You use toilet paper just like I use toilet paper. You know, and I was like, oh, you chopped me down. Okay. And I was like, all right, I get it. You know, it's not about, and so I never ever had that, oh, I'm a star, I'm a dance star. Like I never had that thing, you know, because I'm super shy a little bit. Like I'm an introvert, and when people give me compliments, it's super awkward. So I appreciate you saying that and recognizing that. So thank you.
Okay, we got time for a couple more. Olivia, I know you had a question, and then we got a couple of questions in the chat box. Olivia?
Yeah, thank you for being here. I actually just wanted to like bump what Carrie said. I was just gonna thank you for sharing. It's so inspiring to like hear your story, and we've been getting to learn so much from different artists and different professionals about their unique journeys. And it's so inspiring to me in this time, like not knowing what's gonna happen, but like using this time as a cocoon to like figure out what I'm doing. And I appreciate your honesty so much, and just to hear from you, because it's such an honor. What an amazing career.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it like, as I said, it always wasn't like strawberries and ice cream, you know? And I think that's what you guys have to understand. And throughout your journey, there will be trials, you know, but you have to experience those trials in order to appreciate that the triumphant moments. So endure, understand that those lessons, you know, may seem like they will never end, but I've experienced some worse things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm over that stuff now. You know, it's like that. The dance mom thing still scars me though. It's like, it's one of those things that still stings in my big toe. Like, I'm like, ah.
So Autumn asks, where do you draw inspiration from?
I draw inspiration from, I feel like my biggest inspiration now is just to plateau, just to do things that I've always wanted to do now, that Anthony wanted to do, my biggest inspiration now is what I'm intimidated by. Facing my fears and what I'm intimidated by, which is I see is going into that master's question, you know, that MFA. It's like, going into University of the Arts, I hated school. I barely got out of high school. Like, I barely got out of high school, guys, because I was doing dance jobs in my 11th grade year. I was making $100 a show, doing 2 shows a day, making $1,000 a week in high school. So it was like, I kind of checked out. So 20 years later, to return for that MFA program, COVID came right on time, you know, because it allowed me to really focus and not have any distractions with Anthony Burrell Center for Dance, which was closed down at the time. It didn't, it set itself up perfectly. Like I said, this life is designed for me already. And I'm just following the path. You know, my motivation is just to live and just to leave a mark, other than being Beyonce's or Mariah's choreographer. That's my motivation, is to leave a legacy for my family, to leave a legacy for my daughter, to leave a legacy for the Burrells as a prominent dancer that poured into many, many young, inspiring dancers, and that created these world-class artists, you know? So that's my inspiration, is to create the next Anthony Burrell, to create an opportunity for the next Misty or the next Renee Robinson.
Good. Well, I'm not going to let him speak about stuff that he's already spoken about. That Debbie Allen question, y'all could, if you needed to pay closer attention for that one. He spoke about his experience of working with Debbie. So how are your feelings now with where you are in your career?
I'm content. I feel like I've done everything that I could have possibly done. And I'm carving out new things for myself. You know, I wasn't the one that was. You could have never told me I would have been in academia 20 years after leaving Ailey and taking this step was something that I've always been intimidated by, even on the undergraduate setting. So stepping into this graduate setting and attaining my degree is something that I wanted to do for my 40th birthday, to give myself a gift to me, for my career, for my life, something that I know will elevate me artistically, creatively, and just put me in a different realm of people, of entertainment. You know, I'll be a part of a league of extraordinary folks that have went through the same process. And it's all about elevating and leveling and plateauing. You know, for me, that's what keeps me motivated, is what's the next? What's the next? Never to be stagnant, because I feel like stagnation is real, especially in this COVID space.
Cool. We got two more questions. Can you talk a little bit about the culture shock from Black dance world to an entire different environment? For example, like working with Katy Perry, the Katy Perry experience, going from that black to white experience.
Well, like I said, the money was different. Beyonce, the pay was different. One, but two, it's just, I've come from the biggity black dance world, like black dance down all day. And stepping into a Katy Perry world, it was a different space where I didn't feel, I mean, there were other brown dancers on the tour, but you can just tell our upbringing was different. And I didn't click with her at all because of her upbringing. And it wasn't like she grew up in a posh, like it was kind of trashy, you know, that experience, like her demeanor and way she treated her dancers. And, you know, it was a bit like trash. And I don't have nothing, you know, if you don't have nothing nice to say, I don't say it, because it just wasn't a great experience. You know, I didn't feel like there was any racism on her end. I felt like she was very supportive of having all of these different nationalities and having a full spectrum on her stage. So she represented a lot of different demographics on her tour. But I just felt like, you know, we were just from different cloths, you know, and my experience as a dancer, as an artist, was just different from her experiences. You know, and I think that's just with any company. There's going to be bullcrap in every institution, in every space, and it's just us navigating through that space and knowing our mission, what our purpose is for that particular job, and not get caught up in the antics of what's going on in those spaces, because there will be drama, and everywhere we go, there's drama. If it just never fails.
So the last question is from Ozzy Bonnet. She's asking if you have any advice or tips for someone who wants to be a choreographer for big artists like Mariah Carey or Beyonce.
I do. I think grab some friends, start creating, start choreographing, experiment with your movement, think out of the box, take masterclass workshops. Take a film class, take a lighting class, take all these different classes, more than just about the dance. When it comes to choreographing for pop stars, you have to understand the full spectrum of production, costuming. Like, you have to know all of this and how it's similar to what we do in the concert dance world, but it's also it's very different. It's very different. And just like you have do's and don'ts in the concert world, it's also do's and don'ts in the commercial dance setting. So I encourage you to just go and put your choreography on video, start getting your material out there, put it on YouTube, put it on Instagram, start teaching, start choreographing, Even if it's choreographing for competitions, like start, like that's how I would, when I would tour, I would dance studios, Google dance studios in each city, write down all the dance studios, call them. Hey, do you need a choreographer? I'm Anthony Burrell. I was with Alvin Ailey. I'll be in town. I would love to teach at your studio. That was the beginning of my hustle, So yeah. I got my practice early choreographing since the age of 15. So it's never too late to kind of embark on that choreographic, that muscle, that choreographic muscle. So it starts now. And I think once you get your reel, your footage, your content, package it up in a reel, and just start, get an agent. Your agent will either hire you as a dancer, maybe a choreographer. And then that's how it works. Or someone like an Anthony Burrell, when Beyonce's going on tour. Hey, Beyonce's looking for submissions. I need so and so and so. She need 2K. We know it always work. Oh, we need like 4 8 counts, 8 for a section, or a 30-second clip, and that's just how it works. And it's just like we'll call on people we know. So it's facilitate these relationships. Like I said earlier, you never know who's the next choreographer for a Lady Gaga in this room. You never know who's Beyonce's next choreographer in this room. You just never know. So facilitate those relationships and start creating. Create.
It is not ironic that the Anthony Burrell Center of Dance, the acronym is ABCD. ABC Dance. Yeah, I mean, he is really giving you the ABCs of how you can navigate yourself through your own careers. So, Mr. Anthony Burrell, on behalf of Wayne State University and the Maggie Allison Department of Theater and Dance, under the chair, Dr. Mary Anderson, and our Director of Dance, Meg Paul, we just give thanks for your presence, man. Your presence is present enough. You know how it goes, man. We appreciate you taking the time out to really share some knowledge, because it's powerful. The sharing of the knowledge is the power. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you're so generous with your experiences, I know is going to inspire and help so many others that are coming after you and after us, So we give thanks, man. I appreciate you. I know you getting ready to hop on a plane to jump somewhere else.
Stay encouraged, guys. Stay inspired. I look forward to, especially not being home in those little boxes of your rooms, trying to manage and navigate through this dance space. We will be back. We will be back, guys. So hold on to that.
We never left.
Huh?
We never left.
We never left.
You have to, we're creative individuals. So regardless of the limitations, we just got to create. Life has to happen. It has to manifest. Yeah.
Look forward to coming into the studio when this all is over, guys, and sharing so y'all can really feel my passion. Like you think I'm passionate talking about it. It's a different experience in the classroom, So I look forward to sharing that experience with you.
Cool. We look forward to sharing more experiences with you here and at ABCD in ATL. Anybody who y'all got to make trips down to Atlanta so you can go study at his school. We appreciate you, bruh. Stay safe. Everybody, I thank you all for being here. See you all next.
And if you guys have any more questions, you can DM me on Instagram about, this is the connection. Dr. Ross is our connection now. So it's like the line is open. Mm-hmm. If you have any questions about life, dance, I usually respond to most of my DMs. So feel free to listen, chat, talk. If you have anything that you felt like you weren't capable or willing to say in this space right now.
Cool, bro. Well, give thanks again. I will see you when. Stay up, stay blessed. Yeah. All right, everybody. I'll see y'all soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.